Blog Talk Radio. Chatting with Nat is a podcast for independent women seeking to speak their truth and to break down barriers. We host honest conversations that help to guide and empower women. Speak your truth and set yourself free. Let your voice be heard. Hi, everyone. This is Chatting with Nat. Yes, it's Natalie Dean. It's Natalie Shaw. And today we have the honor of having award-winning author, multi-genre, singer-songwriter, producer, Kathryn Cloward. Kathryn Cloward, known to her youngest fans as Kathryn the Grape, is an award-winning author, multi-genre, singer-songwriter, and media producer who's garnered national recognition for her purposeful books and songs. She's written and published 30 books, released over 100 songs, writes and produces for others, is a contributing editor for Guitar Girl magazine, and mentors women in business. With a heart for elevating purposeful causes, Kathryn's written impact songs for children braving cancer, rare disease, awareness, and refugee youth programs. Let's give her a round of applause. Hi, Kathryn.
Hi. That was fun. I like the little round of applause. That made me giggle.
Well, you know, we just had to give you that. My little hands are not going to do you justice, basically. So I had to have that applause factor. So how has life been treating you? How has life been treating you in a pandemic? That's the question.
Well, let's encapsulate. Oh my gosh. You know, I think what's so great about people who like the creative world is we're scrappy too. You know, like we can just like, all right, just shift on a dime, like. Because all of us, everybody who was doing, you know, whether it was in person, everybody, like our calendars just completely cleared. Remember in March, it was like, and albums were stalled and projects were just stalled, and it was just like, okay, how are we going to get our results that we need? Right. And we figured it out, you know. And I think a lot of those solutions that many of us came up with during that time are sticking, like, you know. That we're going to be able to continue using those, you know, those solutions, which I'm excited about.
Amen to that. Did you do any live streaming?
I did in the very beginning, a little bit, but I actually did not take advantage of that. You know what I did, Natalie? I was like I wrote so much during the pandemic. I an incredible amount of media during the pandemic. And what it allowed me to do, and it also allowed me to reset. And I think this might be true for a lot of people, regardless of the industry they're in. But I found myself on a treadmill that I kind of can't get off. That's usually like an empty place for me to get. And I was finding myself on this treadmill that I was like, this isn't necessarily working for me with where I'm wanting to go. So what the pandemic allowed me to do was to go, all right, everything stopped. And then I was able to say, sit with myself and see what is it that I really, really enjoy doing? What's going to be my forward when everything opens up and whatnot? And so some of the things, the writing that I needed to do and wanted to do, it had the space to cultivate and grow, and without, you know, time hindrances that I would normally have if I had to run out to, you know, to shows and school events and engagements and different things. And so in this vast amount of space, I got very clear about kind of like a reaffirming for myself what my true passions and purpose are. And I wrote like crazy.
I love that. I feel you. I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, I couldn't write anything. I was just like, what is going on in the world? I'd lay awake and say, are we truly here? And then it wasn't until this year that I started to do a lot more, and people were contacting me to do stuff. So I truly understand that.
You talk about self-reflection. That's always the second question that I have. I know a lot of people, colleagues, friends, whatever, or like they decided to cut back on work because they realized they weren't spending enough time with their children. People have decided to quit their jobs because they realize, life is really short. I need to do something that I really love. We have climate change. I mean, the animals were like, oh my God, we can breathe. Nobody's out here during this time. And nature was like, yeah, let's get the party on. So the pandemic has been, it has been good and bad. There's been a lot of tragedy during this time, but there's been a lot of good because I think it really allowed people to really self-reflect. And you talked about a bunch of things there, but did you reevaluate how you want to be perceived as an artist? Do you want to do more? Do you want to diverge into some, I know you're multi-genre. Do you want to diverge into other genres that you haven't done? Did you think about that arena?
Well, that's a great question, actually. I do live in like the self-reflective space like all the time. But I think that's an interesting question about perception. And there had been a few years there where I had spent a lot of my time out performing, right? Like I was performing a lot. I was, a lot of events, a lot of that. And and tapering that down and doing less, more, but bigger, like more impact, that matters to me. And so there was a readjustment there. But as far as like, I'm very clear that I don't need to pick a lane. Like I'm my creative mind firing on all cylinders. And so the work I do with children and families with Kathryn the Grape, that activates the joyful, introspective inner child of me, right? Like I just had this sold out concert a few weeks ago, which is so fun because it was like my first real big concert back after the pandemic, and it sold out, and it was full tilt, and it was the kind of the start of my new Kathryn the Grape show where I'm singing and dancing like I'm not relying on my guitar anymore. I'm out with the kids, and it was so fun, but also I've just like really untethered myself. So that aspect of me gets activated in the children, in the work that I do with children. And that all comes out of me because of the work that I do in like deeper space as a woman that comes out in my Kathryn Cloward music and the other projects that I work with as other artists to help draw that out of them. That is very real and apparent for who I am as a human being, right? So like I lived, you asked about some of the challenges, like I lived some real challenges during the pandemic, like on some crazy levels of real self-proclamation of saying, this is not how it's going to be anymore, And as far as like, and not talking even professional, just like, this is not this pattern is done. I'm wiping this pattern out of my life. And so out of that transformation, realignment for myself, I wrote a whole new album of Kathryn Cloward songs, and I'm going to start putting out. And I wrote a book, for a really important, impactful man here in San Diego called Father Joe. And so I was able to activate the real storytelling humanity of like my adult world and other people's storytelling. And that, I think that's why I'm sharing all of that, is because I don't think we don't have to pick a lane. I think sometimes people want, like, especially big execs are like, this is who you are. This is how we're going to define you. And I completely rebel against that. Like, I'm not going to be pigeonholed in. I'm not going to be boxed in or boxed out.
I love that because, when you're a versatile artist, like the both of us are, multi-genre, people tend to, no, but what genre do you do? Well, I'm an artist, I create. No, but what genre do you do? And after a while, you're just like, dude, or dudette, or whoever. You say, I'm an artist, I just love music, and I create. And, I mean, right now, my focus is basically Americana because it encompasses a bunch of other genres. So I love that, and I love
it sure does.
Effect of things, but I agree with you. I don't like when people try to pigeonhole you. In the music world, they tend to love you if you're just like in that one genre, and they want you to be so good at it or try to change you. I think if you're great at one genre and that's what you want to do, that's fantastic. But when you're versatile, you can get your music involved in so many different projects. You have a variety of things that you can do. Because different films, different videos, different commercials need different types of music. And so you open yourself up to more opportunities when you're able to do all the things that we do. And, and with the music industry, we're not making money getting the music streaming. So when you're gigging and you're touring and you're selling merch and sync and licensing, that's where it is. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be creative to be creative. I mean, the industry, that's the one thing that's true and real and is never going to change, is that change is always happening. Like, one statement is change is constant, and you have to be willing and ready and actually anticipate change in order to adapt. And, I was literally just telling my son, I was out to dinner with my son and his friend last night, actually, and I was saying, oh my gosh, you guys, you said something about like starting my career, like we didn't have cell phones, we didn't all have computers at the time. I mean, I sounded like it was like the dark ages, and my son was like, I know, Mom, you told me this before. But I was like, but my point was telling them that is that I had to learn I had to learn new ways. I had to learn new ways and adapt. And so now, like, people who are, the younger generation, they are so, like, I got on TikTok last year, this young woman who was interning for me last summer. She's like, Kathryn, you got to get on TikTok. And I was all, oh my gosh, I got no time for this. She's like, just get on it. And so she was in her, she just graduated from college. She was in, like, 23 or something. And just, she had these really spectacular, right on the nose ideas. And I was like, and so we can learn from our elders. We can learn from the younger generations. But the one thing that we all have to be mindful of is we have to be willing to adapt, because industry is constantly changing.
That's exactly right. Now, to piggyback off of the TikTok thing, I was with B Square Management. They're like, oh, you got to do TikTok. I'm like, I don't know. Oh, my God, I can't stand doing those things. I got on it and, did a couple videos. I have kittens that I put on there, and I do my own music stuff. But during the pandemic, I did a webinar on it, and they were like, you need to do 5 videos a day. And I'm like, who does that? I have a friend. She manages her son. They actually set aside 3 hours, I think, a day to do just TikTok videos, and he's amassed 30,000 followers because he does that. Now, that's organized, and, I love it. Natalie doesn't have 3 hours. Natalie's trying to do everything that she's trying to do. Yeah, and all the opportunities that we have over time have evolved. And like you say, you adapt to everything that's around you. But what people don't seem to understand is that, we have to be on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, all these different platforms, and we have to manage all of this. A lot of us do this by ourselves, and it takes a lot of time and energy. And some of us have jobs, and some of us, we have collaborations, and we have to write, and then we have to pay for the music that we do, and we have to hire musicians, or we do it the other way and stuff like that. So, it's definitely a lot of work, and every year something evolves. I'm a gadget freak. So every time I see a gadget that's for music or iPads or tablets, I'm like, oh my God, I have to have the latest and best thing, because I got to do music now. If they have to see me in a specific way. Now, what was it about the music industry that you gravitated toward it, in the sense that you were like, whoa, this is me. This is what I have to do?
Well, when I was, when I was a little girl, I used to like, I had this really vibrant imagination my whole life. And when I was a little girl, I used to like put on these concerts for my dolls and give speeches to my dolls. I just had this really like, my room was like my imagination station. And I just kind of like operated in this whole other realm. But I always felt this like purpose, and it wasn't just to like sing songs. It was like to write things. I just always felt this like I was going to do something really important, right? But I always wanted to sing songs. I always wanted to have an album. I remember, like some of my first albums were like the Go-Go's and Pat Benatar, and I was seeing women, like my sheroes were doing this, and it made me go, maybe one day I could do that too. But it wasn't something that I was like, wasn't something that my parents put me into or anything. Like I was kind of, I was behind my brothers, so I did sports and scouting. I kind of did the things that they did. And so I actually, when I think I was 18 or 19, I recorded my first demo, and it was horrible. It was so bad. Like in hindsight, like, come on, Kathryn. But at that time, you sent in like tapes. I mean, I sound really old, but like, you send in tapes to the labels in Nashville, and but I knew at the time, I just didn't have the confidence at the time, and I just had to kind of fulfill these other things in my life. So, fast forward almost 3 decades, Natalie, where I had this burning desire within me that would be stronger or dimmer at different times in my life. But ultimately, the truth is this one thing that I really always wanted to do, I had never actually given it my energy. I'd never given it a shot.
Right.
And it was actually it was when I was bringing Kathryn the Grape to life. It was about 13 years ago. I kind of just took the sledgehammer to my life. I got divorced. My first company was going, kind of tumbleweeding down, and I didn't really want to save it. And it was just, I was going through a complete, my old way of being had to shatter. And I was open to complete transformation. And that's ultimately what's happened. And in that space of surrender to whatever was new for me, the little voice inside of me was like, Kathryn, remember who we are, And so what's happened for me, Natalie, is bringing Kathryn the Grape to life, this children's book character that, is the first, it brought the music to life. It activated me bringing little girl Kathryn to life in this series to help children have tools of self-love and social emotional wellness, like all these things that I needed. I was learning, through going to therapy and going, working with different healers and different modalities. I was realizing wow, these things would have been really helpful for me when I was a kid. And so that's what energizes me to create for Kathryn the Grape. So as I was creating Kathryn the Grape over the last 13 years, I was also becoming the most authentic Kathryn ever. So, and that's when I was working through becoming, I was learning how to songwrite. I was learning how to perform. So the second I actually said, I want to put an album out with my name on it and songs that I wrote, and I asked for guidance. I asked the universe for guidance, and poof, I was just like every other time, every other, kind of like all the pebbles on my path, I just trusted. I trusted the guidance. And next thing you know, I started working with somebody who, my friend Rich Wiley, he really helped me learn how to craft a song. And so from there, I just started writing and trusting and trusting. So I say that because and now I have 7 albums out, and I write for other artists, and I helped a wonderful young teenage girl named Michelle Hopkins. We just released her first album, and I produced that album and helped wrote those songs with her. And I'm about to have my next Kathryn Cloward album coming out. And the only reason I'm saying this is I don't have time to waste. I'm just here to create and be a conduit. Yeah, they just comes to me. And so once I got on the train of momentum, the momentum keeps going, and I have joy with it. I feel fulfilled. I love it. And so why I share that whole long story is I often hear people ask me, how did you do it? How did you know? And the truth of the matter is I was just one decision, one trusting, fully surrendered decision after another, after another, after another. And here I am. And the results and I don't ever have to have this, even I'm very strategic. I'm very strategic and smart, and I'm also scrappy and willing to take risks and willing to fall on my face, right? And so all of that combined together is I'm just having the time of my life of doing what I really love to do. And I'm creating, and bigger opportunities are opening up to me. And most of those opportunities are me opening the door myself. You know, I think a lot of times people want to rely on somebody else, you know, like discovering them or opening the door for them. But I say, you know, to really be the conductor of your own train, you have to be energizing that train. You have to be making those connections. You have to be willing to get people off your train who are liabilities. But you have the power within you, as well as the support of the universe for you. You just have to believe in it. And then once you believe in it, it manifests, it uncovers. It's always there. You just have to uncover it. So for me, I was a little girl who dreamed of doing everything I'm doing now. And so my dreams just get bigger and bigger, and my vision gets bigger and bigger. And the experience of joy is just more and more abundant.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Now, we're going to play one of your songs, Just Be. Tell us what that's about.
Yeah. All right. So that's on my, okay, so Just Be is one of the tracks on the new Kathryn the Grape album. I'm really proud of this album. I released it during COVID, actually towards the end of COVID. I had this album all written, and we had like 90% of the music all recorded before COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and then it was like,
it's like,
yo, how are we going to do these vocals? You know, like it was crazy. And so anyways, I just got in touch with my, you know, different people I knew. I was like, hey, can you do vocals at home? Hey, can you do vocals at home? And so I'm really proud because we have, you know, I have six other people sing on this album plus me. So there's layers of vocals. Leonard Patton, who's a really spectacular vocalist, artist here in San Diego. He's always, whenever you hear male vocalists on my tracks, it's him. But this song is all about, and I worked with Daniel Fritz to produce it and with me. And anyways, but why this song matters is it's the concept is just be you, I'll just be me, and together we'll be happy. I think so often this very simple message is so universal, because oftentimes, especially even in a relationship, we can just go there for a second, is oftentimes it's like, but be what I need you to be, and then we'll be happy. People are constantly imposing their needs and their vision, or their like, this is the perception I need people to see you as and me as. So, you know, through children's music, I can drop down some serious wisdom into the simple, easy, right? And so that if we could all just be like, I'm happy being me. Like I'm only responsible for the house in which I live in. And if the house in which I live in my body and in my awareness and the energy I'm putting out is positive and good and integrity, then I'm naturally going to attract that into my life. But I'm responsible for this. I'm not responsible for managing how you are. So you be happy, I be happy, together we can be happy. And I think that alone, if we manage our own happiness, our own integrity, it would dramatically shift the way we are on this planet collectively.
Amen to that. All right, we're going to play it. We'll have a word from our sponsor, and then we'll play it.
Hi, this is Nikki Chris, and I host a podcast called Mixin' It. Mixin' It focuses on women in the music, entertainment, and the performing arts. Our goal is to provide an avenue for industry veterans and up-and-coming artists, musicians, engineers, and producers to showcase their talent. Listen to Mixin' It on Monday Music Madness at 8 p.m. Eastern on the SIM Radio Network.
So
That's right. Just be you. I'm always saying that. Just be you. Authenticity. You know, it's funny because the past year or so, I've been talking to people about leading an authentic life and authenticity. And I see that word everywhere all the time now. Because, like I said in the TikTok videos, they were saying how the most viewed videos are people that are authentic, people that are doing authentic stuff, people that you can relate to. And that also applies to music. You know, people tend to gravitate.
Yeah.
Now people are gravitating more to the real, like independent artists, not to say mainstream artists are poop, but it's more or less they like something that they think that they can achieve. They're like, oh, look at this person. They're just like me, or they've gone through the same thing that I've gone through. I need to start listening to that particular artist. So I think that's fantastic. Now, tell us about Kathryn the Grape. Tell us about this new album.
Awesome. Well, it's been out for a little while. It's actually doing really well. And my Kathryn the Grape brand has been around for about 12 years. I had to restart it a few times, but it's all independent. I run an independent media company called Candid Unlimited. And it's like, I basically call it it's almost like it's a housing, it's like a house for all of my creative endeavors. And and also working with other artists that I publish and produce for them. But as far as this album, it's submitted for the Grammys this year in the Best Children's category. So I'm doing everything I can to get the word out. And now I am a voting member of the Recording Academy, and I want to be part of organizations that are advocating for songwriters and creators. There's nothing worse than, you create something and somebody comes in and, tries to swipe it away from you. So I'm learning, I've learned that aspect of the business. I'm very business minded. So that's just, figuring out the business of the music industry has always been important to me. So, but anyways, for Kathryn the Grape, why this album matters is for children's music, I feel that, I want the music to sound like, when I was driving in the car listening to children's music, I wanted to beat along with it, right? And so I invest into good music, live band music, layers of music. Like the production has to be top notch. The layers of vocals matter to me. And so, but the message, the whole package, the message that you're always going to get from Kathryn the Grape is always going to have some level of that social, emotional, inner well-being magic to it, right? And I think that's what kids need, Some messages people are putting out messages that are pretty political, and like our kids who are like 5, like they're thinking about kindness and friendship and stuff like that. So that's the lane in which my music is in, as far as like goodness, wholesome, unifying, collective tools. And so there's a song on the album called It's Okay to Cry, and it's really had an impact on quite a few boys, which is so important because I'm a boy mom. I always see things through my son's lens as well as being an empowered woman. So I want that unity for all, and unity is a big message for me. I want to help create a world that isn't through the lens of one. I want to help empower women, but we help empower women, but we're also raising sons. And so we have to empower, be empowered to stand up for ourselves, to be strong, courageous, confident, compassionate women, while also showing that and demonstrating that to our sons. Right. And so, and then we show our nieces and our daughters. And so I think that collectively, what my purpose is in children's music is to show a world in which I see we live in. So even in my book series, there's children who are of all ethnicities, all ages, all walks of life. There's children who have prosthetic legs, use walkers, cochlear implant. This is our world. And so I want to just shine a light on the everyday world that we live in. So that comes across in the music that I share. And I'm happy with it. I'm so happy with everything that's happened with Kathryn the Grape because I haven't sold out. I've never sold out. I've stayed true to my vision and what matters to me, and the right opportunities are opening up for the brand. And, you know, I don't work with a publicist. In the past, you know, so anyways, it's like a wild west this year with the children's category in the Grammys. There's no secret committee this year. So for me, I just want to get my name out there and do my best and support my friends who are doing, you know, the same work. And, you know, there's plenty for us to win. And, you know, the thing, how I see about the Grammys, Natalie, is this, like, I'm not like an awards, I don't have like awards up in my house or in my office or anything, but I see it as like, I'm going to drop this, I see it as like this, I call it like a map of manifestation. So like, I'm going like, a few years ago, I was like, that is so cool to get a Grammy, right? Like, I just saw it as like really cool, like that just is so cool, right? And so, and then I was like, how do you do that? Like, how do you get into that world? How does that happen? And so, you know, I had this kind of like this big goal, like that'd be so rad to get there. And then I reduced it down to like, okay, well, how do I even get into that game? Well, I have to up my standard. I have to be doing better and better and better music. I have to be, so I'm constantly kind of leveling myself up in my professionalism and what I'm doing. And whether that ever hits or not, no matter what, the leveling myself up just creates more opportunities for me to have, to experience abundance in other ways, right? Like the work is getting better. The opportunities are getting more expansive. And so, and it's fun, as long as it's a fun thing. Like, it's not like, oh my God, it's not attached to anything of my worth. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm not worth it if I don't achieve this crazy, huge goal, right? But it's making me go, I can believe that I can level up to that level. And that's what I want for everybody, right? Because oftentimes we've surrounded ourselves with people in life, unbeknown sometimes, people who are like, oh, that's not a good idea. You can't do that, right? There's a lot of negative Nellies who are just like toxic in our lives. We don't even realize it, but that narrative comes out, right? And so I want to be like, why not? Why not? Think bigger, expand more, because the bigger you think, the bigger you expand your energy to achieve for yourself. And the achievement is of fulfillment, right? Like, I feel fulfilled. I feel fulfilled when I go and see kids who listen to my music and love my books. Like, that's fulfilling for me. It makes me energized to do more. So, hey, that's why not.
That's it in a nutshell. So we're going to play your song, Choosing Kindness. Tell us what that's about. I think I know.
Oh, cool. Well, Choosing Kindness is, it's really about the choice. Like, I did a TEDx talk, I think back in like 2013, and the topic's called Choice Point Moment. It's really about, I teach that concept in my book series, Choice Point Moments. In every moment, we actually have a choice. Right? We have a choice on what we say, what we think, what we do, how we respond to things. Yeah. And so kindness is the same. I think why this song mattered to me to write it was because I was seeing a lot of emphasis on like kindness awards and kindness months, right? But take all that away, and it really comes down to for me to feel good about myself, I want to make the kind gesture. I want to say the kind word. Just like I want to feel that, and I want to share that. And ultimately also about self-kindness. You know, we don't talk a lot about self-kindness, but even in the 4 agreements we learn, you know, be impeccable with your words. And that means be impeccable with the words you say about yourself, right? So self-kindness. I'm going to say kind words about myself. I'm not going to put myself down. I'm not going to deprecate my body, or, you know, and so a lot of, I can't speak for men, I just know a lot of women where like we'll often kind of like self-deprecate instead of going like, I want to lift my friends up, you know, men and women. I want to lift people up. I want to say wonderful things about them. I want to say wonderful things about myself. And all that does is elevate the vibration. So choosing kindness is about helping children realize it's a choice. I have the choice to think mean thoughts, or I have the choice to think kind thoughts. And so, I mean, that's where the root of all gossip, isn't it? Like, you sit around and everyone's like, oh, it's innocent. It's not innocent. If you're sitting around racking somebody over the coals, that's just mean, yucky energy. And that karmically will come back to you. So to instill in children at an early age that it's not about what's out there, it's about what's in here, right? So those mindful choices, social emotional wellness starts on the inside. So that's where the concept of choosing kindness came from.
I love it. Let's play it.
Words can be like swords that hurt our feelings. Words can be like doors that open to understanding. So let's use our words to be kind to ourselves and others all the time. Let's say kind words. Let's sing kind songs. Let's do kind things. That's what choosing kindness means. Thoughts can be like weeds that spread negativity. Thoughts can be like water that streams positivity. So let's think thoughts that are kind about ourselves and others all the time. Let's say kind words. Let's sing kind songs. Let's do kind things. That's what choosing kindness means. What we choose to do in our lives matters greatly. Let's choose to do kind things daily. Let's say kind words. Let's sing kind songs. Let's do kind things. That's what choosing kindness means. Let's say kind words. Let's sing kind songs. Let's do kind things. That's what choosing kindness means. That's what choosing kindness means.
I love it. I simply do. The importance of time is the world. The world's kind of getting crazy. Let's talk about you wear many hats, several different hats.
Mm-hmm.
So how you do everything, you must have several different arms to be able to do everything that you do. So you also have a spoken word that you wrote and narrated.
Yes.
Narrated for Father Joe Carroll. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was actually a wonderful project that published in April. So that all came to fruition during the pandemic. So out here in San Diego, there's and he was known worldwide actually. Father Joe is a man who was a Catholic priest who, really dedicated almost 4 decades of his life to creating solutions for people who are experiencing, families and individuals who are experiencing homelessness. And I wrote his memoir for him. So, which is like, I wrote it in his voice. And I spent 2 years of my life in service to creating this. Now, let me just tell you how this all weaves together, Natalie, because it's like you cannot make this up in the divine creation of life. So Father Joe, I've known him my whole life.
Okay.
I was raised Catholic, but my parents, he he was our parish priest when I was when I was born. And then my mom worked for him when he first started working in service to help homeless neighbors in need. They started out of this thrift store, right? So my mom worked for him. My brothers and my dad were involved in Boy Scouts with him. But that's where they started out of this thrift store. He grew it to be like an incredible, like this organization created an abundant amount of housing and compassionate empowerment solutions and services for people to help themselves and have compassionate relief to get, out of relief from homelessness and poverty. But he started it from just this one building, which was a thrift store. And while we were there, my mom bought this purple sweatsuit outfit for me at the thrift store one day on her lunch break. As it turns out, and that was an outfit I wore all the time. That a softball coach nicknamed me Kathryn the Grape because I wore this purple outfit all the time. Okay, so I was like 10 or whatever. I got this outfit when I was 11. My softball coach nicknamed me Kathryn the Grape. Right. Fast forward decades of my life, and Father Joe came and spoke at my dad's celebration, of life when my dad died. And a few years later, I was at an event with my mom, and I was telling him about, he asked me what I do, and I told him that I write and publish books and music, and I told him all about, like, how this outfit that my mom got for me at this thrift store is now this illustrated character that helps children feel good about themselves. So I said, Father Joe, you built all of this with your vision. I said, but somewhere in that, too, like, you imprinted this whole creative journey of mine too on some level. And so he just sat there and heard that, and he's like, Kathryn, I have a book I want you to write. And then he just asked me to write a book, and next thing you know, he and I spent, he wanted stories of good priests to be told. He's like, Kathryn, there are good priests doing good things, and all you ever hear about are priests not doing good things. And there are good priests doing good stuff. And I said, I understand that, actually. Yeah, I can see that. And so we wrote, his book. And so anyways, did this whole project. There's a Kathryn the Grape book. There's a Kathryn the Grape song. So there's a children's illustrated book, but then also Father Joe Life Stories of a Hustler Priest. It's really his memoir. It's this kind of like storytelling book. And then in that process, Natalie, it was focused on the book, which is also an ebook. And then I was like, why don't we do it? It was like the 9th hour of the project, or the 11th hour, I should say. And I said, I think we should do it as an ebook too, Yeah. And I said to him, and so, not an ebook, an audiobook, sorry. And so, but he couldn't read the book himself because his eyesight was failing. And so I narrated the book, but he came into the studio to do some parts of it. And so that's also submitted in the Grammy category for spoken word. So, and he passed away 2 months ago in July. So he got to experience, the book came out on his 80th birthday, which was like, he was so excited. And I was so excited because I did what he asked me to do. And then he got to have a few months of promotion and just hearing people's feedback. And, it's his only authorized biography. And he was just so proud of it. And I'm proud that I was able to do what he asked me to do. And so anyways, we released the audible version of the book, and that's a category on the Grammys. And so I was like, I'm going to put that on there and see, and we're going to see how we can go. Here's a man who had tremendous impact. And his book isn't just about, his life. It's about his mindset. A lot of times people are like, they see you on the end, like they don't know what your climb was. They don't know your thinking of how you built something, what was going on in your brain to go, I could do that. And that's where the heart of the human being is. And that's what the story is. And so, or this book. So, he entrusted me to carry on the torch, and I'm doing that. And I feel very supported, by him still in his angel realm. And so anyways, when you said I wear a lot of hats, it's like I really, it's all connected, Natalie, like to the creative world. I'm a storyteller. I want to tell stories. I want to tell stories that impact people's lives, that impact hearts, right? Like I'm not imposing not imposing like a belief on you. I'm just actually helping people go, think about it. This is something to think about. This is something to think about. And if you care about the subjects that I sing about, write about, but I do believe that it's important that we have women in these independent media markets, like what your show is.
Right.
There's women, I do everything independently. I do that because if you're whoever owns controls. It's the bottom line. So if a lot of times people want to control and own, and if it doesn't go somewhere, they kick you out, right? Lots of people get signed to labels, and they give you if your music doesn't go anywhere, you're out, and they own your music. Like, you wrote it, you created it, but they get to own it, right? And so for me, leverage. I don't want other people, unless it's a win-win, unless there's it's a mutually beneficial contract. Right. I'm not going to give up ownership, for something I created.
Amen to that. I agree with you 100%. Now, what is go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you were going to continue. Go ahead.
I can always continue. I was just going to say, I think especially right now, I was just going to get on my soapbox for a moment. But I think especially now, Natalie, it's so important that we have, even me, I live in the brave world. Like, I do really brave stuff on the regular, right? Like, some of my friends are like, Kathryn, you just put yourself out there all the time. And they're it's so brave. But I'm just used to it now. But it's not as if, I'm actually, it takes a lot of courage for me to do what I do. But I also, it takes more, it would drain my soul to not, right? It's even this last weekend, Natalie, I had this day, that Saturday, I woke up super early and I felt heavy. My heart felt heavy. I was a little weepy all day, and I was like, what's going on with me? What's going on with me? And the truth is I just was like, damn, I'm standing at a choice point moment right now. It's time to really, really untether myself and take the sheath off and just help shine a light in the places that we need to really shine a light on mindset. And I'm willing to do that. And because I run an independent media platform, because I do it like this, I've had plenty of times where people try and control me, and it's nope, you can't, you don't get to define who I am. You don't get to own my projects unless that's our agreement from the get-go, right? And so if I'm working for you, but I'm saying this because I think a lot of women, I'm speaking for women. I think a lot of women hold a lot in, and we take a lot, and then we have this complete combustion eventually, right? And so what we have this collective need to not just empower women in America. That's coming from our American wealth, and I mean, America is a rich country. I've traveled all over the world. We need to have a global desire to help elevate women all over, so that our daughters can see that, so our sons see that. It's imperative that we raise up our voices and put stories out that women write. Women need to be in every single room that decisions are being made. And that's been said, but also not just that, not just in the rooms. We need to be leading those rooms, right? We need to be leading. We need to be at the helm. It needs to be women's voices writing books, women's voices writing songs. Shonda Rhimes is rad. She's written all these TV shows, right? So we're getting the narrative from a woman's point of view. It's so important. So activate the artistry in each and every one of us, whether that's poetry, whether that's cooking, whatever that artistry is in you. Mine just happens to be written word, and that comes out in music or stories, right? But that we activate that within ourselves, because we need to normalize women's voices being not just the fourth song heard on the country rotation, we're going to play 5 guys and then 1 chick and then 5 more guys, that's how they see it, right? If you listen to rotations of music, that is how it is, right? And so it needs to be more than norm, not the we're just going to slide a female voice in here, no. And so we need it to be more normal. And the only way we do that is by producing, getting stuff out there. And so shows like yours help with that, Natalie. Like Chatting with Nat is helpful because you're shining a light. You're giving women a platform that allows to activate other people and go like, I could do that too. Wow, what am I wanting to manifest? It allows us to drop some seeds of goodness into each other's lives. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity to do something, my part today.
And you're definitely doing it. What is the quote or message that you live by on a day-to-day business, if you do?
Well, I'm literally staring at these like taped sayings up in front of me, but I don't think it's a quote that I live by. It's more about like a feeling. Like I constantly, my greatest tool in my treasure box for life is trusting my divine knowing. Like I trust my intuition more than anything. I used to be before I really activated that and turned that on and trusted that, you know, years ago, I would like seek out opinion from a lot of people. I do not do that anymore. I do seek out wisdom from people that I respect, that I'm like, do you have any, like, what do you think about this? I might bounce ideas off of people who I really, really, really respect, you know, and then I need their wisdom, whether it's in business or spiritual matters. But honestly, I just say trust with everything. Like I trust the guidance. I don't have angst about things. But what I would love for people, you know, I would, what's going on with me lately, and this is in one of my songs, I'll just say it is like trust the feel-good flow, right? Like life is supposed to feel good, right? So oftentimes we find ourselves in conflict with ourselves because we're not in the feel-good flow. And what I mean by that is, like what's meant to manifest is not necessarily it's always going to be super, super easy, but it flows. It's like the universe will constantly provide us with the pebbles on our path. We just have to be in motion, right? We have to be in motion of trusting. We have to be in motion of believing. And so follow the feel good flow. Don't worry, just let it go. And so for me, if I'm not feeling that flow of feel good, you know, feeling, like if I'm going, this isn't where I want to be, or this doesn't feel good to be around these people. These people are talking some serious negative, toxic stuff. I'm out. See ya. This isn't where I'm going to be. And so I keep it there. My life is very quiet. It's not crowded. I have a very quiet, uncrowded life, and that allows me to really nurture my creativity. So I think a lot of times people are in that space of I need to do this, I should do this, and I say get rid of all of that. Just follow what your inner calling is, your inner feel-good flow.
Amen. Amen. And I love that. 100%. You got to be true to who you are. Keep doing your thing. Don't listen to negative people. You got to trust your instincts. Well, Kathryn, it's been wonderful having you on Chatting with Nat. I can't believe the 45 minutes is up. I learned a lot more about you, and I think you're amazing. I think everybody should go out there and listen to your music and everything that you do. You're on. And, you know, congratulations.
Hey, I didn't tell you. A lot of my friends call me Kat. So Kat and Nat just got a chat. I love it.
Yeah, Kat and chat. All right. Well, Kat, you've been amazing. I love your energy. I love your spirit. It's full of positivity. And
I'm in gratitude to you. Thank you so much for this. And I'm going to send some more women your way if you're okay with that. Because I know some other women who are amazing creators, and they, you know, it's just important for us to amplify, you know, voices of female creators. It's so important right now. And not just right now, just important to just amplify and continue that.
Amen to that. Definitely send anyone you want my way. I'd love to have them on the show. I love to learn about new people and get them on my list. So thank you so much. Everybody should find you on KathrynTheGrape.com. She's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or just Google. That's what I tell people. Just Google. So this was award-winning author, multi-genre, singer-songwriter, media producer, Kathryn Cloward on Chatting with Nat. Until next time.
Chatting with Nat is a podcast for independent women seeking to speak their truth and to break down barriers. we host honest conversations that help to guide and empower women. Speak your truth and set yourself free. Let your voice be heard. Love your